Hi, I'm Michael Polozola with the LSU Ag Center, and today I wanted to visit with you about one nice plant you can do in your spring or fall garden, cauliflower. So there's different planting windows in the state. Our spring window is probably a little shorter than our fall window, but you can enjoy cauliflower both of those times of the year if you plant it right. I will say if you're going to start your own seed, you need to probably go at the earlier point of those windows, if not even before that, starting your seed in a protected, either heated in the spring planting date or cooled in the fall planting date. Now, heat, they are very sensitive to that. That's why we have spring and fall. You're probably not going to have good success with the summer, especially cauliflower with the intense colors, either white or different colors. If they hit that heat, you're going to get bad taste, off colors. So that is why we're isolated to those times a year.
Okay.
So one thing to consider when growing vegetables in containers is making certain that the container is large enough for the vegetable to complete its life cycle and give you high quality fruit. There's a lot of different philosophies on what size it should be, but you're going to look much smaller in there to get started, and that's okay. And I'm going to have to water these a little bit more often because the container is not quite a 5-gallon size, but it is close to that size, so they should be able to complete their life cycle. I would favor large sizes. If you might be able to do it in a 3-gallon container, but you're going to have to water that pretty intensely and won't be able to travel much and leave it unattended. So larger is better for container size. Now there is a point of diminishing returns. You don't want a huge container because then the plant can get lost in there and have issues with water drainage, but you do want kind of an intermediate to larger size container to get your vegetable garden started if you're going to do it in containers, not in the ground. Now, what we're going to talk about in this video and hopefully show you as they progress through the growing season are 3 different colors of cauliflower. We have our purple graffiti, our yellow cheddar, and our traditional white snowball. There's different types of cultivars and there's different ways you may need to maintain it. With snowball, we may have to go through and make certain as the head develops that it's covered to prevent the white from turning a little off-white and just degrading as far as fruit quality. That is something also to consider, is we do want to watch these a little bit more closer. That quality as they develop, you're going to want to harvest them and consume them fairly quickly. Now, with that in mind, all these are planted at the same time, so I'll have to deal with 9 cauliflower at about the same time. For video purposes, great though. But for your home garden, you might want to stagger your planting dates so that you can enjoy cauliflower in spurts rather than getting tired of having all of them develop at the same time. So we will keep up with these and show you as they go along. These have already grown a little bit since I've started. We're going to go look at one close up and show you what you may have to do, because these are transplants that I got started, and there's a few tricks with that. And we are going to want to fertilize these throughout the season. I would say because I'm growing these in containers, I'm going to need to fertilize these more often. I'll probably do it about every 2 weeks. In the ground, you may not need as much depending on what your baseline fertility is, but in the soil, in a pot like this, in a substrate, I'm going to fertilize and water much more often. So now let's go look a little bit at some transplants to see what we might need to look into and do prior to planting. Okay, so these are some leftover transplants from my planting, and what I planted already I went through, but you can see that the nursery that started these, to ensure that you got a transplant, they put at least 2 seed. In some cases, in this guy even got a little bit extra to ensure that you got at least 1 plant per cell. And because of that, we don't want to plant that. Of these 2, I'll probably prefer the larger one, so I would come through and just kind of do that type of pinch here. You do want to be careful. You don't want to disturb the root system when you're taking it out, so it may be better to just pinch it off rather than trying to pull up. But we want to go through and isolate these to just 1 transplant per cell so that we have better quality. If you left all these in place, they'd be competing with one another and you would not get good quality fruit off all of it. Now I will say some of it, you may not always want to favor the largest one because this one's kind of large, but it's going at an angle and I'm kind of wanting to prefer a straight growth on that. So with this one, which had a lot of extras, I chose that one and took all the others because it's slightly straight. They should, if they are a little slanted, that's not unusual for transplants, they should straighten themselves out as they start to grow. So don't worry about that as much. You don't want to plant them deep to correct that. Not all plants can handle that, and especially I wouldn't try that with this. So just let them grow into shape and straighten out as they go, but make certain to thin. Look at all we took out of there, a good bit extra. Now, that's not a sign of bad quality. They do that to ensure that you get transplants. So that's okay if you see that. Just make sure to thin it out so that you don't have to worry about it afterwards.